with Jacob Albracht and Tommy Castor.
All right, welcome in, everybody. It is Sports Daily. Glad to be here with you on a Friday. TGIF, more coherent than a presidential debate. We are rocking and rolling for the next 2 hours, ready to get you ready for a Royals weekend. Nice way to open the series against the Guardians for Kansas City. So we will dig way into that. NBA draft talk. We got a couple of Jayhawks selected in the second round, so we can get into those decisions as well. Look around the NFL. Speaking of which, the league has to pay lots and lots of money for something that is interesting, I think. We'll have to figure out what it means and how to dissect it and how it might affect our viewing habits and all of these things. We will have 2 giveaways for you today, including your last chance to go to Dam Jam down in Goddard. We'll tell you more about that later in the program. Get those winners later. We'll also give away some HTO, some iced tea, some coffee for you later in the program. The IHOP hotline is open for you. Brought to you by IHOP, where you can check out the classic breakfast sampler, 2 strips of hickory smoked bacon, 2 pork sausage links, 2 pieces of thick cut ham, 2 eggs, hash browns, and 2 buttermilk pancakes. That IHOP hotline is 869-1240. You can also get in touch with the program by leaving us your comments on our video stream, which you'll find on Facebook. You'll find it on YouTube. You'll find it on X. You can leave your comments there. We'll get to those on the air. All kinds of different ways to get in touch with the program. You can reach out to Tommy and I, individually on social media as well. It's all right there for you on this Friday. Tommy, good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Doesn't it make you feel good that you and I are, like you mentioned, more coherent? We make more sense on a daily basis than, the two guys who are running to, lead our country.
We're not 80. I don't know
True.
that I'll probably not be quite as sharp as they are.
We do this thing every day for 2 hours. They did it one time.
Some people
hours.
Some people might disagree with us on that, Tommy. We can, be a little nonsensical sometimes, but it's not a political show. It's an observational show at times. It's just an observation from last night. It was something. It was something. We'll keep it to that. I was watching the Royals, though. I got home from Crestview. Shout out to Crestview, great supporter of the program. Played a little golf. Got home, flipped on the Royals, flipped on the debate. Began with the debate unmuted and the Royals muted, and pretty quickly that swapped, and we watched and listened to the Royals. You can, of course, listen to the Royals as I did driving everywhere I go, right here on KFH, home of the Kansas City Royals. It was a good game, Tommy, and we just can start there. Look, you had it. I don't care how they come necessarily against the Guardians, and good call by you to just go ahead and keep slamming that under. I hope you did that yesterday.
I did.
So that, and I did too. I ended up doing it with like a bonus bet I had somewhere. So that, that played itself out certainly. And I don't think we're to the point where we can be particularly picky in these moments, especially against this team. You just kind of take it as you can get it, right? In a game against your division rival that you still hold out hope, if you're the Royals, that, sometime down the road, probably not until September, you might be able to run them down in the division. But in the meantime, I don't care who they're playing. They just need to win games at this point. The offense did not wake up last night. This isn't some like, all right, they're back moment. It's they survived one and they got to win. Way to go.
That's the way they've been winning lately, is by surviving one and doing just enough offensively to get a victory. In the final game against the Marlins, it was a 5-run 8th inning. In the game last night against the Guardians, it was a 2-run 6th inning. And that was all that it took for the Royals to get the victory. And, we can spend as much time as possible going over the offensive woes for Kansas City. How about that pitching performance and, particularly the bullpen, and really even more specifically, Sam Long, an inning and 2/3, and he got out of a big time jam to keep the lead for the Royals. Michael Wacha pitched another great game. It wasn't that long ago. Before he went on the IL, He was struggling, and I was a little concerned about what he was bringing to the Royals. He's absolutely turned that around since he's returned from the injured list. He pitched fantastic last night to keep the Royals in that game, even down 1-0 until the 6th inning. So yeah, there are absolutely reasons that, you could be concerned. And I think we are, and that's been well discussed. But ultimately, as you mentioned, that's a huge win to start off this series. Ultimately the division race can still have a wide variety of outcomes after Sunday. The Royals could be within 5 games, or they could be all the way back 11 games, at the end of it. There's a wide range of outcomes over the next 3 games, but they got the first one, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah, and it's we can lose sight, because I think that's where we're in that, mode of the fact that we are only halfway through this season. The problem for me on the division has been we're just not getting any indication that Cleveland is going to slow down enough to allow the Royals to catch them. That's been the problem in the division for me. Can it still happen? Well, of course it can still happen. They could lose their 3 top players to injury in the next week, and then who knows, right? So it's not that these things are outside the realm of possibility. They're just not the most important thing. The most important thing is that the Royals start playing better, because they have not been playing well at all. And you kind of just have to start there. And that's the difficulty of baseball. And the difficulty for these teams is there's no greater marathon in sports. We see teams all the time start hot, finish slow, start slow, finish hot. But it's not fun, Tommy. It's not fun as a fan, as an observer, to not live in the moment at the same time of a baseball season. My wife watches baseball and is like, who cares? There's 180 games. She doesn't know how many games there are. She's like, there's a billion games, whatever. I'm like, it's 162, but don't ruin my fun. That's probably the more pragmatic way to look at a baseball season. Like, who cares? It's one game. But that's not fun as a fan, and that's not fun as an observer. And what makes a great baseball race fun is dissecting hard games on June 27th, overreacting to games on June 26th. That's the beauty of being in the middle of things. That's why baseball, I say it all the time, there's nothing more fulfilling, I don't think, as a sports fan, as a good competitive baseball season. If you're a baseball person, you get 162 days of it. In the NFL, if you're a Chiefs fan, you get 1 day a week. You get 1 day a week to get excited or mad, and then you consume the other things. But in baseball, you get games every day. The emotional roller coaster of a baseball season is a wild one, and that's fun. And all I want is for the Royals to not fall out of this thing and just to stay in it for the entirety of this season.
I think it's a fair expectation in this 4-game set against the Guardians to just really, like, at the very bare minimum, just maintain, like, just hang on. It doesn't matter. You don't have to dominate them. Cleveland's too good to be dominated over the course of 4 games, but hang on and do what you can do to at least not lose any ground to Cleveland. And they're well on their way to doing that. If they split the series, they don't lose any ground. But then, they really only need 1 more win out of the next 3 to be able to not lose any ground. But then from there, if they can get 2 of the next 3, then you're cutting that gap, down by a couple of games. If you can, I know it's unlikely, but if you can sweep the Guardians, you're only 5 games back at that point, after knocking that door down. So there's a lot at play here. And I think that going back to your point about the long season and, all of that, yeah, it's 162 games, but from the course of like the start of a week to the end of a week, things can change dramatically for any team in Major League Baseball. And that's the fun of it, where it's not just 1 day a week and, like in football or whatever, like things can change pretty rapidly just over the span of a handful of games. And when you're taking on a division rival and the team that's in first place in the division and you're trying to chase them down, then absolutely things can change. You don't have to, cross your fingers and hope and wait for the Guardians to lose a game. You're playing them so you can cause them to lose a game and be able to gain some ground. That's what makes it that much more important for Kansas City. And I think that if you break things down into those digestible chunks, and we've done that this entire season, where it's like this 10-game stretch or this homestand or this road trip, and really trying to like look at it as kind of like micro seasons, like the seasons within the seasons, that's really where you can start to get that analysis and really start to figure out, okay, where is it that the Royals are, where do they have the best opportunity to gain ground, or what do they need to watch out for? And we all know the offense is an issue, but if they can just hang on to, going back to what you said a couple of minutes ago, really in this particular series, I don't think it matters how you win as long as you win.
It's funny that you said they have a chance to only be 5 games back. I think yesterday I said no matter what, they'll still be 5 games back. Like, that's what I'm talking about in a baseball season. Like, you get that win and you're like, all right, let's run down Cleveland. Let's get them. And yesterday it was like, doesn't matter what they do, they're not going to catch it. So, and I love that. And I've always
that's that wild pendulum swing, right? Because just like, had they gotten swept by the Guardians, they would have been 13 games back. Like, that wide range of outcomes from this 4-game series.
It just is. That's why I love baseball so much. It's why baseball will always hold the best place in my heart. I would tell you that I'm far more of a consumer now, and have been for a long time. Football. If you made me say, like, what is your favorite sport? It's football. But I don't know that it'll ever hold the same kind of place for me as a sports fan that baseball will, because baseball is so fulfilling for so long in every individual season. I love baseball. I do this for a living because I listen to baseball games on the radio. I lived in the country with my dad when we had, at least a 30-minute drive home every day. We listened to baseball every day. He had it fashioned so that in the bathroom, when you turned on the light switch, it turned on a radio to put on, the station that ran the Texas Rangers games growing up. We literally listened every day. Like, it was always. And then it was with my grandpa. It was always the St. Louis Cardinals. Every day, no matter what you wanted to do, no matter what you wanted to talk about, you were going to talk about what happened with the Cardinals the night before, period. Like, you could start a conversation about anything else, and it was just like, I'm not listening to what you're saying. Did you see what that idiot Tony La Russa did last night? That's how a conversation with my grandpa. Like, but that you don't get that with anything else. We have found creative ways to fill our time with football during the week. It's still the most interesting to talk about every single day. There's no question about that.
The anticipation's probably greater for a football game leading up to a Sunday or a primetime game. But that doesn't
the only place though where you can get it every single day. Nothing else does that. And that's why I love it. And so, the Royals stinking for a while has really bothered me, because I moved here in 2014 and the ride is on, right? First 2 years I was here, I was all over the country covering that team. We were talking about them every day. It was so much fun. You were getting the water cooler baseball thing. Like, everybody around was just kind of talking about the Royals, right? And so, yeah, it goes from that to what it's been the last, probably 4 years at least, where, man, you can't talk. I mean, you just can't. Like, there's nothing to talk about. They won 58 games or whatever it was last year. So that's the beauty of this. That's why I'm so happy they're in this. And that's why we get so up and down with this team, is because we just don't want to see it end. You don't want to see them fall out of this. Beat Cleveland however you can beat them. I still have a lot of concerns about this team. They scored only 2 runs last night. It was good enough last night. That's fine. Great. I'm glad they beat them. But it's going to have to be better than that. I don't know if this offense is weird. We didn't love the offense, right, Tommy? They were scoring a lot of runs. You kept looking and it was like, oh, they're one of the top offenses in the American League. Now I think reality is setting in a little bit. And the reality is this isn't a great offense. It's a top-heavy offense, but it's not a great offense. And I think what we're seeing is the law of averages play out. And I just don't know that this offense, as it's currently constructed, is ever going to be as good as it was in May. I think that's probably pretty unlikely.
I think there was one thing in the game last night that happened that hasn't happened much at all in 2 years, that I think maybe did spark a little bit in the Royals. And honestly, that was Matt Quatrero getting rung up, like getting tossed. I think that had a little bit to do with it. Like, I think that was maybe only the second time this season that's happened. He's not typically known to be the kind of guy to get out there and mix it up with the umpires. It was that play on Nick Lofton. Was he deliberately running out of the base path, or was he giving the third baseman for the Guardians room to field the ball? And that was the whole course of the argument. The umpire said that he was deliberately running out of the base path to avoid the tag, and Quintero gets tossed. That frustration started to boil over of, look, we, finally have, runners in scoring position, and then something like this happens and runs are at a premium for our team. And, then the umpires in his mind are taking away one of the few opportunities that this team has to score runs. And so I don't blame him one bit for going out there and arguing, number one, but then also managers do this all the time, getting tossed to show the team like this sort of thing is not going to continue. I'm not going to tolerate this sort of thing continuing. Very shortly thereafter, you had Kyle Isbell and Michael Garcia back-to-back triples, and then a sac fly from Vinny Pasquantino that gave the Royals their 2 runs. Was it an epic offensive outburst? No, it wasn't at all, but it was enough to have the Royals get the victory. And when you've got dynamic starting pitching that the Royals have, and honestly, the bullpen's been really good as of late, those 2 things combined, even against a team like Cleveland, 2 runs, that was all it took.
It's not all it's going to take for the rest of the series. No. I don't think it's not all it's going to take to remain in a playoff hunt. It's not all it's going to take to get back to what they were doing. And we are seeing now, this is a long stretch. It's a long stretch. I'm not smart enough to know if the opposition is figuring out a way to navigate the Royals lineup. I think there probably is some of that. And I think there's, all you can really do, yes, guys can heat up, but they can also cool off. They're going to need some reinforcements here. I don't think there's any question. And I mean, if nothing else, if you're a Royals fan, even if they never catch Cleveland, if they play well in this series, it does amplify I don't know if it's pressure, but maybe it's amplifying the decision one way or the other on how aggressive the Royals are going to be at the trade deadline. We talked for almost 2 hours yesterday about it. I maintain that they have got to be aggressive this year. There are so many circumstances that point to aggression this year from the front office at the trade deadline. Now, what does that mean? It just means do something, right? It doesn't mean it doesn't matter, because I don't think they have what it takes to go get a big time player, but they've got to do something. The pressure is on to do something, because you cannot waste this opportunity. They're trying to build a new ballpark. They're trying to convince Missouri to pony up billions of dollars to help them build a ballpark. They put their money where their mouth was this offseason. It just does not make any sense to me to not follow that up. I mean, if we looked back at this, Tommy, in, I don't even know what month would they have made those moves. Let's just say December, because I don't want to look it up. December, when this offseason, basically, when they made the decision to go add these pieces. If you looked at this then and you gave it a crystal ball, and I said, all right, John Sherman, Piccolo, everybody. I'm going to tell you right now that on June 28th, you guys are going to be 7 games over 500. Everyone would have been doing a dance of happiness there. So don't waste it. It's gone almost as good as you could have hoped. You just got to follow it up now, because they win 2-1. They can't score any runs right now. And I just don't think this offense is going to get back to what we saw there for a stretch early in the season. I don't think that's reality for this roster.
Well, as far as being aggressive, I think I said it yesterday that I'm going to need, at least in my mind, to feel a little bit more confident that they've got at least somewhat of a solid path to a playoff spot before I really want them to go all in and be aggressive at the trade deadline. This series is going to tell me a lot. If they lose the final 3 games of this series against Cleveland, they'll be 11 games back of the Guardians. At that point, I don't feel like they need to be aggressive at the trade deadline. You're battling for maybe 1 wild card spot. Now, if they can win 2 of the next 3, they'll be 7 games back. If they can win all the next 3, they'll be 5 games back. Hey, at that point, I feel pretty good about that. Like, let's go. Like, to me, there's a big difference between 5 or 7 games back and 11 games back.
I'll tell you why I don't think there is on the other side. 869-1240 is the IHOP hotline. We got Jad Chambers manning that for us. We've got giveaways coming. Let's do our HTO giveaway right now. All you got to do to win some HTO iced tea, more than 20 flavors, or free rain coffee from any of the 3 Wichita Metro locations, East, West, or in Derby, is text the keyword T, T-E-A, to the short code 20357. That's T, to short code 20357. Message and data rates apply. You can enter once per day on this contest. We run it most days here on Sports Daily. Good luck, everybody. We'll come back. More Royals talk. We'll get to the NBA. We'll get to these Big 12 men's basketball schedules that were released yesterday. I think it's great for both Kansas and Kansas State. And we can talk about, well, the rest of the sports world as well. It's all coming. Sports Daily, Albracht and Castor. Don't go away.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy. We have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free.
All right, welcome back into Sports Daily here, everybody. It is Jacob Albracht and Tommy Castor. Jad Chambers producing, manning that IHOP hotline. All right, Tommy, lay out what you did there at the end of the last segment, that your trade deadline aggression sort of depends on this series.
I don't know if it fully depends on just this series, but I do think this series is absolutely critical to decide whether or not they should be aggressive at the deadline. I kind of broke it down. I mean, if the Royals this series with the Guardians and they're well on their way to at least do that, they don't lose any ground, but they don't gain any ground. They'll still be 9 games back after Sunday. All right, I'm still kind of on the fence about what I want to do at the deadline. If they lose the next 3 games, they drop the series to Cleveland, they'll be 11 games back. I don't know if I really want to be that aggressive at that point at the trade deadline. Now, things can obviously change between Sunday when this series wraps up and the deadline in less than a month from now. But 11 games back with really probably only a shot at the wild card. I don't know if I want to go all in at the deadline and, start really going for broke with that being the case. Now, if they win 2 of their next 3, they take the series from Cleveland, or if they sweep the series and win all of the next 3 games, then they'll be 5 or 7 games back of the Guardians. Okay, I feel more comfortable that there is a path to win the division if you get some good reinforcements to come in. So at that point, I feel a little bit better about being more aggressive at the deadline.
Here's what I don't agree with is that it's all about the division, because I think especially this year, when you play your divisional opponents less than you ever have, there are 4 playoff spots available for the Royals. The division is one of them, and then there are 3 wild card spots available. If the division is the least attainable because of the 4 spots, the Guardians are the best team, you still have 75% of those spots available. Wild card spots now, to me, are just as it's equal to winning a division. The incentive of winning a division is nice, but it's not so much so that we should discount the wild card spots. The reality might just be that the Guardians of those four playoff spots available, basically, the Guardians have the best record of the 4. It doesn't really matter if they're the 3rd wild card spot or they win the division. They got a spot in the playoffs. It's all the same. Running down the Guardians will be harder than it ever has been because you won't play them as much head to head as you ever have before. You're just as likely to run down the Twins, the Orioles, the Red Sox, whoever else ends up in it, Rangers, Astros, Rays, whatever the combination is. It may just simply be that the Guardians have a better record than all of those teams, so you weren't going to run them down anyway. But that leaves 3 playoff spots now.
Yeah, my point in all of that is that the closer that you are to Cleveland, because Cleveland kind of is the benchmark, right? They're the best team, at least in the American League right now. They're the benchmark, and the closer you get to them, whether or not you're actually going to legitimately overtake them and win the AL Central, it opens up more possibilities for wild card spots. As it stands right now, you think the Royals are going to not only, they're probably not even going to challenge for the AL Central, but as it stands right now, are they going to challenge for the top wild card spot? Probably not. They're going to challenge for the second. Well, yes, it does matter because you've got these teams in front of you. You're going to have that much more of a likelihood to make the playoffs if all 3 wild card spots are in your sight, as opposed to just the last one that you're battling for, because then you're overtaking the teams that are behind Cleveland in the wild card race overall from a record standpoint. You've got that much more opportunity to get into the playoffs. Your probability to make the playoffs goes up. If you're 11 games back at the end of this weekend, at that point, you're absolutely, barring some kind of miracle, not battling for the first or the second wildcard spot. If you could grab maybe the 3rd, that's about the only chance they've got, I think.
Mix for the second, they're only a game back right now of the second wild card.
If you end up losing the next 3 games, Minnesota's playing.
Maybe they're 3 games back.
I'm saying that my point is that it's not even necessarily about the division. Like, yes, that'd be great to be able to chase down the Guardians and win the AL Central, but that's not my overall point. My overall point is that they're the standard. Cleveland is the standard in the American League in general. And so the closer you can get to them, the closer then you can get to unlocking the door to having multiple chances, multiple opportunities, multiple doors to walk through to make the playoffs.
All right. So let's go back for a second. Let's go back to, let's go back to 2021 when we sort of expanded that wild card back out, right? Let's go there. They had 2 wild card spots that year. 92 wins were your 2 wild card spots. The Red Sox and the Yankees both had 92 wins. The Blue Jays were in the mix at 91, but 92 wins was the benchmark for a wild card spot then. In 2022, the top wild card had 92 wins. The other 2 had 90 and 86 wins. Last year, we look at the wild card. The Rays were that team. If you envision the Yankees/Orioles non-East winner as being that team that's unattainable, last year's a good example of that. 99 wins by the Rays. They didn't win the division. But the other 2 wild card teams had 90 and 89 wins. Historically now, we're looking at this, and it's about it takes about 90 wins, 90, 91 wins to get into the playoffs in recent history with this expansion. So when to me, that's what I'm looking at. The Royals right now are on pace, I think, for 89 wins or 90 wins.
Yeah.
So that's what you're up against. You're sort of up against history there. History tells us they're not going to have to win 95 games to get into the playoffs. They got to win like 90, 91, 92.
Sure.
So they're already doing that.
You're right.
Why wouldn't you want to be aggressive?
You're proving my point. They're already doing it. So why do you need to go make any moves at that point? If that's literally what you're trying to get to, you're pacing for that right now with the team that you have. So why give up assets if you're already pacing for that?
What assets are you afraid of them giving up? What asset are you afraid?
I'm just saying in general, like, why would you want to give something up if you're already pacing to that point? If that's the standard that you're trying to reach is a 90 win mark, and at that point the sights of the division are out of sight, like it's not going to happen for you. You're not trying to win 95 games. You're not trying to win 100 games. You're not trying to chase down Cleveland. Your current team, as it's built right now, is pacing for about 90 wins. And if that's what it takes to get a wild card spot, then why give anything up to go get anybody?
I'm going to ask you 2 questions. One, do you think this team right now wins 92 games?
90. Yeah, I think that if they're healthy, I think that they can.
You think this team, the way we've seen them play over the last month, is a 92-win team? I do not.
That's a different question. That's a different question.
No, it's not. It's the only question that matters, because if you don't think they are, then they need to get better. And I don't think they are.
I think absolutely. I mean, we talked about it like multiple times that it, at least offensively, that, the law of averages may be catching up, but like offensively, is this team as really are they truly as good as they were at the beginning of the season? In reality, no. But are they truly as bad as they currently are right now? No.
I agree with that.
I think that if you average that, the pitching is as it has been all year. I think that they do without making any moves at all.
Well, then that's fine. I don't think that they're a 92-win team right now. I don't think they are. I think that possibility they have had very fortunate health through the first half that I think is very hard to count on in the second half as well. And I think that they are somewhere in between what we saw in May and what we've seen in June. So are they, is this as good as the first half possibly could have gone for them? I'd say probably yes. So I'm not comfortable calling them a 92-win team right now. The other question I would ask is, what are people afraid that they'll give up that will hamstring the franchise?
I'm not afraid of them giving anything up. I'm saying it's not necessary for them to do it. I don't think it's necessary for them to do anything. Like unless then you start to like open the door again to, okay, they could maybe win the division now. Okay, well then, go for broke, go all in.
But why is that one divisional spot so much better or worse than the other 3 playoff spots that are there?
They're not competing for the first wild card spot. The way it stands right now, like I don't think they're competing, because like that's about, you'd have to be basically almost as good as Cleveland at that point to be able to get that first wild card spot. What my point is that, like, okay, let's say that they're a 90-win team and they're pacing for right around there and they don't make any changes. What's the likelihood of them getting a wild card spot? Probably fairly low. I mean, maybe 50, even 50. Like the third, like 50-50, like it kind of is what it is. If you all of a sudden are winning more games, and then you have a more likelihood to not only get maybe the third wild card spot, but then maybe the second wild card spot, but then you do continue to get better, and then you have the first, like, then it becomes like, okay, like there's a lot more outs. I used the analogy yesterday in playing poker. Like, you have a lot more outs, right? They don't have a lot of outs right now, I don't think. Now, if they end this series this weekend, 5 back from the Guardians, then yeah, there's a lot more outs. And then, okay, like you've done the job to get back into shouting distance. So, okay, go ahead and go and make some moves to get you all the way over the hump, because you've got greater accomplishments in your field of view. Like, you then are competing for all 3 wildcard spots. Potentially, you're competing maybe even for a division championship. But if it, as it stands right now, they're not. So I just don't know why you would want to go for broke in that situation.
I just don't know why you would be satisfied in this playoff race to have 6 players in your lineup hitting below 235. I mean, why would you let yourself be satisfied with that? There aren't young prospects on the cusp that they will trade away. There aren't any. They're not there. That risk is not the same as it was in 2014. There was only 1 wild card spot in 2014 that was a 1-game play-in format. Yeah. That is gone. There are now 3 wild card spots that get the
way the wild card is structured is significantly better than what it was when it was a 1-game sample size. I agree with you on that.
They ran a lineup out yesterday with 6 players that aren't even hitting 235,
and they won the game. Like we just said, like
they did 2-1.
They won the game. Like
but that's not. We shouldn't be satisfied. That's not good enough. Why would you be ultra aggressive in the offseason? Why would you go spend all that money? Why would you commit to Bobby? Would you do all the things that they did and not follow that up when the opportunity to follow it up is glaring?
I'm surprised. Honestly, I'm surprised that this is your opinion on this, because you're a gambler, and like, I just don't think the odds are particularly good for them to go for broke. Like, let's use another card game analogy. It's like blackjack. You got 14, or 15. Are you going to hit again and risk busting entirely? Or are you going to stand pat and say, you know what? Like, there's a chance that the dealer busts too. Like, I just think, like, you don't need to be overly aggressive in those situations.
A gambling analogy. Have I been getting my tail kicked all day? Am I trying to take it back in baby steps, or am I trying to win it all back at once? I think that matters too. I think the difference of what we're talking about is you're afraid they'll give up too much in some trade.
No, I'm afraid that they end up making moves that then they don't work, and it doesn't really make a big difference at the end of the day on what they're doing.
What's the risk in that? You want to talk about a gambling analogy? What is the risk of making?
Do you think that and I understand, and it's been discussed at long length about the weaknesses of the farm system and what they have and what they don't have. I understand all of that. If you make moves now, I do think that in some capacity, regardless if it's talented players or not, you might be handcuffing yourself a little bit to try to make some moves that could make you even that much better in 2025.
Okay, Rick brings up a good point here too, is that most teams aren't making moves right now because there's not a lot of sellers yet. And that is a fair point. But there are 2 or 3, and there are players on those 2 or 3 teams that could make this team better. 6 players in the lineup yesterday, 235 and below. They won the game. I know. And they've lost most of the games coming into that game, which is why they're 8 games back in the division. Like, yesterday is great. I love that yesterday happened. I don't want to ignore the prior 15 games before it when they lost the vast majority of them. We'll see what they do. I'm trying to run down, just by the way, we're trying to run down JJ Piccolo to join the show. I think that can happen. I think it will. I hope it will. We honestly guess at what they're thinking. Maybe we can get an actual answer from that. So we'll continue to watch it. We'll continue to talk about it just about every day. This is the beauty, ladies and gentlemen, of relevant baseball. I love it more than anything in sports. We've got comments on our video stream we'll get to in that conversation. Let's come back. We'll get you caught up on what happened yesterday in the NBA draft. We'll try to dig into this NFL Sunday ticket story. It's weird. I don't really know what the ripple effects might be. But we'll get you at least the news of it and maybe take a couple of swings at it. 869-1240 is that IHOP hotline. It is open for you. Don't forget, our contest for the first hour is to win some HTO, iced tea, and coffee. Text the word TEA to 20357. Message and data rates apply. We'll be right back.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy. We have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free.
Royals baseball on KFH, available for free on the Odyssey app. Royals series hosting the Guardians continues tonight. Tune into KFH at 7 o'clock. You can simply download the Odyssey app and search for KFH. If you miss any of our Hour 1 conversation about the Royals, you can go back and listen to that as well on the Odyssey app. Lots of different ways you can take in the show. Mike says on our YouTube stream, no need to risk future assets. I disagree with that on two fronts. I think there is absolutely a need to risk future assets, and I just don't think any move that they make is going to cost them future assets that will be meaningful. But I get the sentiment. It is a scary proposition. I get it. You can leave us your comments on our YouTube stream, Facebook, X, all three of those places where we carry our video stream. You can leave comments. We can take them right there over the air. Always a good thing. All right, let's set up the second hour here. We're going to have our Damn Jam giveaway in the second hour, so stay tuned for that. We're also going to get into the fits for the Jayhawks drafted yesterday. One of the things that drives me nuts about the NBA draft, man, I'm getting push alerts from, all these different places on where guys were taken, and then by the time I look it up, you realize that's not actually where they're going. They're going somewhere else because XYZ traded future asset. Like the NBA draft sometimes can't get out of its own way. Like it is the most confusing experience. Traded the draft rights to so-and-so. Like who is the player playing for? That's all anybody cares about. Can we just do that and then we'll go on? It took me 15 minutes, Tommy, to figure out where Johnny Furphy was, playing basketball next year after he was picked. It was the Spurs. I got a push alert that it was the Spurs. Then it was somebody else. And then it was the same thing with McCullough. I was laughing with TJ. I was coming off set. And I'm like, I just got a push alert that, McCullough was taking XYZ. And he was like, well, I got a push alert from the other. And it said he was taken here. And I'm like, whatever, man. Like, just talk to me when it's all done.
The other thing I didn't realize was that now they have a day 2 of the draft. I mean, I knew that they were, doing it over 2 days. But it was like, it started at 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon or something. I'm like, wait, what is going on? I'm like getting these alerts in the middle of the day about who's being drafted. I was really confused about the timing of all of it.
I think it was probably the Bronny effect. I don't know if they had that set up beforehand. I don't love it or hate it. It's just kind of weird. Like they're just in a room shaking hands. Can we not just do the first and second rounds? There's 60 picks. I think you could get it done in a day. Well, maybe not.
Well, they did every other year in the past, but it would always drag into the night, and yeah.
So anyway, we have Bronny taken by the Lakers. Furphy and McCullough have new spots. So we'll get into all of that. We'll try to get into this Sunday ticket story, and I bet you we talk more about the Royals on the other side as well. We'll give away our Damn Jam tickets. So stay tuned there. We want to tell you that this portion of the program is brought to you by Crestview Country Club. Love their support. Appreciate them. I was there last night, a little twilight golf. Got that in. I still can't get – I don't know what the pace is, Tommy, because I always play 9 holes. I still can't get under 10 over on 9 holes. I've been stuck on that number now for a couple of weeks as I've played, I think, 4 times. It's like it always is like, all right, if I can just – make this par putt on 9, then I can stay at under 10 over on 9. I can't get there.
I mean, you do realize that's not particularly good. Like that's not a very good score on 9 holes.
You do realize that I before the last 2 weeks, I've played about 72 holes over the last.
You're golfing now, though. I mean, you're playing now. Yeah. I should expect to start to see that score. It's going to take a minute. You
should also know that peak my golf, which is all self-taught and never any is my peak was a 90. Best round I ever shot was a 90.
Did you know that Crestview does offer lessons? If you'd like to take some golf lessons, you could do that.
Yeah. Does that take more than, the hour of a day that I can find to even try to get out there and swing a golf club? I think it probably does. But yes, they do offer those lessons, and I will. Mark my words, I will take one at some point, maybe next year. Probably not this year. We appreciate Crestview's support. Give them a call. Tell them we sent you. All right, we'll come back. We'll talk a little NBA draft on the other side. It's Sports Daily. It's Albracht and Castor. Don't go away.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy. We have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free.
Now, from Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albracht and Tommy Castor.
All right, welcome in, everybody. Hour number 2. Glad to be here with you on this Friday, TGIF. We get some NBA draft talk in this hour. We'll go back to the Royals, and we'll dig around some of the other storylines floating around the sports world right now. You'll have a chance to win Damn Jam tickets coming up in just a few minutes. The IHOP hotline is open for you, 869-1240. Try the 2x2x2. 2 eggs your way, 2 bacon strips or pork sausage links, and 2 buttermilk pancakes, just $7. You can get that at IHOP. We appreciate them. Bringing us the IHOP hotline where Jad Chambers is standing by taking your calls. You can also leave us your comments on our video streams, which are available to you on YouTube, on Facebook, and on X. All right, so the NBA draft yesterday goes in at like 3:15 or something. I don't know, Tommy. I like just getting it all done at once. The second day, I think may have had something to do with Bronny James. Maybe that's why people would be more inclined to watch. I'm not 100% sure on that. But look, it is what it is, and we get a couple of players we care about drafted here. I had sort of forgotten about Kevin McCullough, to be perfectly honest with you. All the focus has been on Johnny Furphy because of the decision he had to make. Where was he going to get drafted? He was really flying up draft boards in recent weeks. He doesn't get taken in the first round. Like that's sort of where the focus was. He ends up going at 35 to the Pacers. It was the Spurs pick. The broadcast had it as the Spurs. The Pacers, we find out, basically swapped picks with them. Indiana clearly wanting Johnny Furphy, thinking that the Spurs might take him. I think it was a pretty big surprise at how late he went, but that's a pretty good landing spot. Either one of those spots for different reasons would have been good landing spots, but getting on a contender and being able to maybe provide them some shooting right away at minimum in the beginning it's a good fit for Furphy. I like it. I also love the coach he's going to play for. I love Rick Carlisle.
Yeah, Rick Carlisle is going to be able to provide so much experience for Johnny Furphy to develop his game even further. And the Pacers are a team that, they were absolutely, they made things a lot more interesting, I think, in the East during the playoffs. Did they have the firepower to be able to be one of the best teams in the league? No, not this year. But they had a good season overall. They made the playoffs. It was a kind of a fun run to watch them. And I think they probably felt like, they're missing a couple of spots to be able to get over that hump. Will Johnny Furphy be a key contributor to that? I think time will tell, but having a coach like Rick Carlisle to go and play for certainly won't hurt.
The other player goes right after the one everybody was watching, Bronny James at 55. Then all of a sudden, and another kind of a trade weird situation, Kevin McCullough goes. Initially, it was the Suns. I got an alert that said it was to the Nuggets, but it's the Knicks that get the pick. So McCullough goes to the Knicks, another KU Jayhawk that has a chance to go to a team, a contender right away and go win some games. I'm surprised the NBA has not liked McCullough more, quite frankly. And I don't think this has to do with the injury. I think it's one of the reasons he came back to Kansas. He's got size. He can shoot, and he's a great defender. I have never been able to figure out why he hasn't been more of an NBA, prospect. But I mean, I think he'll have a chance to have a long NBA career, quite frankly, because I think his skill set lends itself to the league.
Well, out of those three attributes you just mentioned, the weakest one is probably the shooting. He's not a bad shooter.
Sure. No,
he's not a great shooter either. And in a league that absolutely emphasizes and glorifies really dynamic offense, a player the caliber of Kevin McCullough is going to get lost in the shuffle. That's a big reason why, I think that Johnny Furphy was getting more hype over Kevin McCullough. I think Kevin McCullough currently, as it stands right now, is a better all-around basketball player than Johnny Furphy is. Furphy's got more upside. He's got a higher ceiling. and he's a better shooter and could end up being maybe an elite shooter in the NBA, where I don't think Kevin McCullough quite has, that to build from. I think that he basically, what you see is what you get, and that's a really, really good player. I don't think that he's going to be able to improve like more by joining the league. I think that who he is now is who he's probably going to be. I think the Knicks have a good player on hand with him, but I don't think he's anybody that in a few years from now you're going to look at and be like, oh my God, have you seen the leaps and bounds that he's taken in his career? I'm pretty sure it's going to be about what we already have grown accustomed to with Kevin McCullough.
Yeah. I mean, his health is the thing. Johnny Furphy, by the way, last year in his year with KU was a 35% 3-point shooter. So he wasn't, you're still looking at with Furphy, I think a bit of a project. Last year, but for the record, McCullough was a 33% 3-point shooter. Over his career, more like 31%. So, and I don't disagree with it. I think that if you're banking on Furphy becoming a great 3-point shooter, which I think will happen too. I agree with that, by the way. I think there is only maybe a slightly less chance that McCullough doesn't become a better 3-point shooter, right? Like I think he has. I think we
know.
Look at Fred VanVleet. There are guys that aren't great shooters in college that become great shooters in the NBA all the time. LeBron James didn't start his career as a great shooter. I mean, I think we see it. I don't know why. I don't know what they do to make it different, but I think McCullough could get up to 35, 36% as a 3-point shooter in the league. And if he does, all bets are off because he's such a great defensive player with size and length.
Yeah, I just don't think that the improvement or the ceiling or whatever for McCullough is the reason why a team like the Knicks would bring him in. I think that they like the kind of player that he is now, and I think that they just expect that if he can stay healthy, he will continue to, perform at that level. And again, it's not about shooting. It's about he's a great defender, and that's a huge reason why he was so successful at Kansas over the time that he was there, because he was probably the Jayhawks' top defender on that team. And that's something that, a team like the Knicks, especially with the changes that they're making with their personnel, they're going to need that. They're going to need a defensive powerhouse. And I think that can be Kevin McCullough. I'm almost more excited about what he can bring to the Knicks in that regard than if he becomes a 35% 3-point shooter in the NBA.
In the NBA,
that's not that important to me.
35% 3-point shooter, by the way, is not. I mean, that's maybe. I bet you that'd be pretty close to league average. The top 50 players in the NBA by 3-point percentage were all, if you round up, at 40% or better. So he'd have to get a lot better. But it's in his arsenal. Furphy's got a long way. Look, Furphy could also become a really good defender in the NBA too. And that's the other thing.
He wasn't in college, but that's again why teams are looking at him as a project. I mean, there's no doubt that, especially when he fell into the second round, that, the teams that were, looking at him and had been interested in him probably started to salivate, like they can get him in the second round, and he could be significantly different at the age of 21 or 22 than at 18 or 19.
Let's say they're both healthy. Let's just assume they're both healthy next year. If you needed a player to help you win next year, who do you think is more ready to do that? It's McCullough, right?
McCullough.
Don't you think?
It's McCullough.
Yeah.
It's McCullough.
Which is why Indiana's a little bit of an interesting pick. Like the thought of Furphy in San Antonio, I was like, oh, this is perfect. You get to play with Pop. He's got such a good track record with international players.
And there's a Kansas and San Antonio pipeline.
Yeah.
You've got all of those different connections. Yeah.
I was like, oh, that Bill Self's got his hands in that. But I like the Indiana fit too. I just wonder how much he'll be able to jump in like next year and help a team that is a playoff contender. Not that he has to. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It is interesting though that I do think McCullough could help the Knicks like right now. I think McCullough could be a handy piece for them.
Well, and then the Knicks, if you followed it, they've made some fairly big moves over the last few days. I mean, it's kind of like the Villanova Knicks now. Like there are, so many different former Villanova players that are now on that team. And that's been, a big move. And they've done several others as well. With Furphy, though, I think the only caveat, while I do believe that the safe bet out of the two is to say that McCullough will be the player most likely to impact his team this next season. Keep in mind, Furphy joined the Jayhawks late and had a really like steep ascent to all of a sudden, like he went from off the radar, came in, reclassified, came in with this Jayhawks team, and then all of a sudden started jumping on NBA draft boards. So, yeah, there's a really, I think, high ceiling for him, but there's nothing off the table that says that he won't continue that really steep ascent even in his first year in the NBA. Like I think that there could be a scenario where we're looking at him as a rookie year, like from the beginning of his rookie year to the end of his rookie year, really making a significant impact with the Pacers. Is it likely? Probably not, but I wouldn't be shocked if that did happen.
Right. They're both second round picks. Like, it is what it is. There's not a ton of risk. I do think it tells you something, though. Like, when I think of good fits for a team that's clearly pushing all their chips in right now with the Knicks, taking a guy like McCullough, who he's got as good a chance, really. I mean, I saw like Jamal Shedd went in the second round. Like, those kinds of players have always made sense to me as second round picks, because you got guys that could step onto the floor and be ready to contribute right away when you go just get really high level experienced college basketball players. So those were out there. The other big news, of course, in the draft is Bronny James. I cannot believe the league let this happen. Quite honestly, a perfect situation for the Lakers. No risk for the Lakers. Like, no risk at all. You didn't make if you're the rest of the league, you didn't make the Lakers have to do anything. This was perfect for them. They just get to use a second round pick to keep Bron happy and take, a player, again, genetically speaking, and workouts and all the things. We're talking about risky players in the second round. Bronny James is no more or less risky, I don't think, than just about any of them, except he has the high pedigree. But you let the Lakers just have him in the second. Come on, league. Like, what are you doing, you chickens? Make them sweat a little bit. Like, if I'm the Lakers, I am so flipping thrilled at this, because this cost you basically nothing to get a high pedigree with all the genetics in the world that you could want. You keep his dad happy and maybe extends his career. Like, massive win for the Lakers here to me. I cannot believe the league let them have that like that.
I don't really think it makes a difference whatsoever. I mean, I think that in the whole scheme,
it makes a difference if LeBron James plays 2 more years instead of one.
But I'm talking about on the court. I mean, I don't think it makes a difference one way or the other. Like, it's a non-factor to me. Did making that move make the Lakers a better basketball team? No, it didn't. Did it keep
not
LeBron
next year?
Did it keep LeBron on the team? Probably, although it would be hilarious. His opt-out, he has to make a decision by Saturday, and it would be hilarious if he opted out today and went somewhere else. And Bronny, that's not going to happen, obviously. But that would be funny. I did think about that. But, assuming all along that LeBron was going to stay with the team, did them drafting Bronny make them any better yesterday? No, it didn't. And so I don't really care.
Not next year.
I don't think ever. I mean, I am doubtful that Bronny James will make an impact in the NBA.
I am not going to make a definitive statement on a player with his pedigree that we did
I'm just
not
doubtful. I'm doubtful that he's going to make an impact.
Be doubtful, but a guy that wowed scouts and workouts, a guy that has a general all the scouting reports on him, by the way, I've seen are about the same. Has a chance to be a really good defender.
Sure.
With a decent shot, with obviously all the athleticism in the world. It's it's pick 55.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Look, I've seen a lot of vitriol about this, and people calling it nepotism and that Bronny James is a nepo baby and like all of this. I'm not going to get into that necessarily, but if you take who he is away, are people excited about him? Would the Lakers give a crap about? No, they wouldn't. And so, like, did he impress scouts? Like, genuinely, maybe they did. Maybe they were impressed by him. I don't know, but I don't think it's a factor for the on the court play of the Los Angeles Lakers. So all the other things can absolutely be true, and people can be excited about that because of what it does for LeBron and his longevity and staying with the team and, blah, 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 blah. That's all well and good, and I'm not disagreeing with that. But as far as the actual on the court play, doesn't make a single bit of difference to me.
Yeah, I just think it's no risk for the Lakers, and that's why I'm surprised the league let it happen. Like, you got to just, can you not just make like a spite pick and make them do something? They get exactly what they wanted for like it just could not have gone more perfect for the Lakers. The other thing I wonder about with this is I wonder how much timing on the Bronny side of it, how much timing mattered here. Like I wonder what his decision, if it, let's say LeBron would have already retired. Let's say he was out of the league. Makes me wonder if Bronny would have not gone back to college. I think he probably would have. Which is all of this again for the Lakers. You're getting the perfect storm of everything on it, and it cost you nothing. It cost him absolutely nothing. Why would the league let that happen? At least make him trade a pick for it or something. At least hold a pick hostage. It's interesting. Rick says ESPN and I are the only ones interested in Bronny. Wake me when he can be effective. I would ask you this, Rick. Let me counter that with you. How interested are you in Ulrich Chomchi out of Cameroon, or Ariel Hukporti out of Germany, or Anton Watson out of Gonzaga, or Quentin Post out of Boston College? You any more interested in those players, Rick? Because I would bet that you've never heard of any of them. And so who cares? It's a late second round pick.
That's the point, though. In general, why is it a topic? It's only a topic because of who it is.
Well, sure it is. Of course it is. It's
like it's one of those. It's like, okay, like I don't care about any of them, nor do I care about I don't care about anybody who's really a late second round pick unless they're connected to one of our local schools and I follow them. And so for Bronny, it's like, okay, cool. Like maybe he can come in and eventually he can be a project and he can help develop and that's fine. Okay, cool. Like good luck to all of that. I just it doesn't move the needle for me at all from a purely basketball standpoint. It might also be because I'm not a Lakers fan. I don't really give a rip about it
from a basketball standpoint.
I don't care about who the Lakers
standpoint, it doesn't interest me, but from a storyline standpoint, it interests me greatly. From a basketball standpoint, none of these players interest me from a basketball standpoint. They're second round picks. I don't know anything about any of them. But from a storyline, father, son, the greatest player of all time, like all the inner workings of this, I think that's interesting. And I don't think I'm the only one, or ESPN's the only one. I think a lot of people are interested in that. That's okay. 869-1240. I get it. LeBron James is a lightning rod. Anyway, would people have the same? I don't know if disdain is not, that's probably not the fair word, but what if this was who's another really old player right now? I'm trying to think of the problem is there's nobody as old as LeBron that's as good as he is at his age. But I don't even know what a good example would be. If this was Giannis Antetokounmpo's kid, would you have the same level of disdain if you had a chance to play with his kid? I don't think you would. I don't have
disdain. I don't have disdain.
That's why some people do, though. Some people, I know you don't. Some people do. Some people hate LeBron James. Sports hate. LeBron James, and they just will take every shot they can take. It's father-son story. I hope they get on the court together. I think
here's a good example. When Michael Jordan was playing for the Washington Wizards, if Marcus Jordan joined the team, Marcus Jordan was not a good basketball player. I know. But if Marcus Jordan joined the team, would that be something that would move the needle? I think from a storyline perspective, sure, it's father and son. I mean, I remember when King Griffey Sr. and King Griffey Jr. played together. Like I get all of that. I mean, Jr. was the senior, was not really. So this is the flip flop of that. But it hasn't happened in the NBA. So I get the appeal. I get the newsworthiness of all of it, I guess, because of just that fact. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't get me. I don't really care. Like, good for Bronny, good for LeBron, good for the Lakers, good for their fans. Wake me up when Bronny actually will contribute to the team. And then at that point, I'm like, cool, that was a really good draft pick for the Lakers.
Well, it was a smart draft pick for the Lakers. Well, time will tell if it's a good one. Time will tell how much more LeBron James plays, and time will tell if Bronny can ever do anything in the league, for sure. I'm going to raise it one more time, though, the thought and the theory that there is an outside chance with this. The other James kid's also a really good basketball player. What are the chances you get all three of them on the same? I'm just saying.
Cool.
It'd be, come on, you're more interested.
I don't care.
Whatever. Yes,
that's
you
great.
do.
No, I don't.
You do. If all three of them played on the same team, you'd be interested in that happening. Yes, you would.
Doubtful.
Everybody would. It's a good
Doubtful.
storyline. 869-1240. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We're going to try and look at this NFL Sunday ticket story. I don't know if this impacts us at all. Talk about not really care. I don't care as much as long as it doesn't impact us, but I think it might impact us in the way we watch football. They got to pay like $5 billion in a lawsuit. And I do not understand why this is a lawsuit, but we'll get into it when we return on the other side. It's Sports Daily. It's Albracht and Castor. Don't go away.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy. We have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free.
right, welcome back, everybody. It is Sports Daily here. It is Albracht and Castor, and we are setting up the last day of this great giveaway. One of the hottest festivals this summer in Goddard is Dam Jam, July 19th and 20th. You can see Brantley Gilbert, Stone Temple Pilots, Dustin Lynch, Jody Messina, and many more. We're giving away pairs of two-day general admission tickets. Last pair today. All you have to do is text the keyword PARTY, P-A-R-T-Y, to the number 20357, and you could be on your way. Winners will be announced today at 6 o'clock. Message and data rates apply. Good luck, everybody. That is PARTY, P-A-R-T-Y, to the number 20357. We're back on Sports Daily. The NFL is now they lost a lawsuit that's been around for about a decade, $4.7 billion about Sunday Ticket. Basically, the plaintiffs here saying that there was antitrust in basically like price gouging for Sunday Ticket. I'm not sure, Tommy, because this has been a couple of weeks of this. What I don't understand is with the NFL, this is their product. They negotiate. Why? How could it possibly be price gouging? They can set whatever price they want. I don't understand. And the antitrust part comes in the sense that they're trying to say that the networks worked with the NFL to raise the price of Sunday Ticket. But again, if I'm a network and I am counting on more people watching the games on the network, why would I not work with the NFL to make sure that more people are watching the games on the network, which is what that would do? You want the Sunday Ticket price higher, so it's more likely that people watch the games on your network that you're paying tons and tons of money to carry. I don't understand how this is a lawsuit.
But isn't that, kind of the whole point of the matter, though, that like there's no there was really no protection, I guess, for the consumer in this regard, right? Like it was kind of like a collusion.
There's no other. It's not like there's competing.
It's not. They didn't have another
companies.
option to be able to like. Well, yeah, but I mean, like they didn't have another option. It was either if you want this, you have to pay. They could charge $1 million if they wanted to. Like that. And so I think that may be the basis for it.
But they could charge $1 million for it. It's their product.
It's a monopoly, though, right? Like
but they have a monopoly. It's not like this isn't meat packing plants working together to raise the price of meat collectively. This isn't. It would be one thing if it was like the NFL and the XFL working together to raise the prices. I don't think you have that here because the NFL, like, there's nothing else like it that offers the product. They sort of set the price anyway. I mean, who's to say that their product isn't worth, whatever the cost of the Sunday Ticket is? Like, what are we comparing it to, right? Like, they're the only thing out. That's what I don't understand. What legal standing is there that they should charge $50 for the Sunday Ticket instead of $350? And for that matter, like, why? This is where, okay, so I have that issue, but then it makes me wonder, like, okay, are we not seeing price gouging among streaming services and cable companies? Like, who's to say their products are worth as much as they say they're worth? They're working together to raise their prices. They're all raising them. They're all adding ads. Like, to me, it's like this weird can of worms here that I don't understand how it has much legs when there is no competitor to the NFL.
That's what makes it difficult because, historically, for as long as NFL games or any sporting event has been televised, it's been ad supported. I mean, even any kind of programming was ad supported. And now you've got this direct to consumer model where, there's potentially is a premium version where you don't have to pay for ads and all of that. It does make it a little bit more convoluted and complicated. Really, as soon as like Sunday Ticket, and this is the way that it's Sunday Ticket's been forever. And maybe this is another basis of the lawsuit. You had one way to access it. You had to be a DirecTV subscriber, right? Like you had to get a satellite dish installed at the top of your house if you wanted to be able to pick up NFL Sunday Ticket. So for anybody that maybe DirecTV wasn't available to them in their location, or they didn't, they had a cable provider instead, like you had to do it that way. It's not the way that it is now. I mean, like you can get it on YouTube TV,
Sure,
but you're still forcing people to subscribe to a service to be able to have access to it. For me, like I never had DirecTV, so I never had NFL Sunday Ticket.
You didn't need it. You're a Chiefs fan.
I have YouTube TV. I can buy it now if I want to, but it's a non-factor to me because, as you just said, I'm a Chiefs fan, so I'm going to get all the games here in this market anyway. So it's not. I have Red Zone. I'll watch NFL Red Zone, but I don't really care about Sunday Ticket because if the Chiefs aren't playing, I'll watch basically whatever game is on a network because I don't care.
But that's my point. The same basis could be used right now in this. To me, like, what's to prevent the same lawsuit to coming against every network? Right now, if you want to watch Thursday Night Football, there's only one way, and you got to pay a subscription service to do it. Right? Of course, that's the way it is. That's what Amazon wants. That's that's why they paid so much money for it. The networks are the same way.
But
right?
but now there are options, like, for Sunday Night Football or Monday Night Football. Let's do Monday Night Football, for example. You can have a cable subscription and have ESPN as part of your package that you pay for. You can have a streaming platform that ESPN is included in. You can have just ESPN Plus and have access to it. Like there are multiple options to be able to access that game. Same thing with Sunday Night Football. You have NBC in your cable
Thursday
package.
Night Football.
You can watch it with an antenna. You just get Peacock and watch it. Like there are multiple different ways to access those games.
But what about Thursday Night Football? What about these games on Netflix?
You're right. That's where it starts to get muddy because you have one way to access these games. It goes back to the Chiefs playoff game. I wasn't willing to subscribe to Peacock.
And you just made the choice because you didn't think the price was worth it. But that's my thing with the Sunday Ticket. Like if you thought it was too expensive, just don't buy it. That's what I mean. Like it's not like it's, can we get antitrust laws with energy companies for jacking up our rates? Because we have to have energy, right? Grocery prices. We got to have groceries, meat, eggs, milk, that kind of stuff. I get it for. Those are important things that your society needs to function. I don't understand a novelty item, which is strictly entertainment, where it is priced based on what its creator thinks it's worth, and the consumer can either buy it or not buy it. This isn't energy. I just don't understand. I can't figure out where this goes and why it's there in the first place. This is not a necessity. Like it is a total entertainment novelty. Like, are we going to go after movie theaters for competitive pricing? And I know the antitrust thing is there. Like you can't have what you don't want is to not have competitive pricing. I understand that part of it. There is no competition to the NFL. They're not working with anybody. They're the only show in town. There's not some other league that they're working together with to jack up the price of NFL Sunday Ticket. What the lawsuit is saying is that the networks are the competition and they work together to jack it up. But why on earth would the networks want to jack up the price for something they have to pay for? They've got to pay the NFL to run NFL games. They're not working with the NFL to jack up the price. They want the NFL to make Sunday Ticket more expensive so more people will watch their networks. Who is working together to what goal, to what end? That's the part of it I don't quite understand. And maybe that's it. Maybe people are mad that the networks don't want people to watch Sunday Ticket. So they're like, yeah, raise the price, NFL. But what control do the networks have over that anyway? They don't make any money one way or the other on the NFL Sunday Ticket.
Yeah, I have less of an issue with the Sunday Ticket situation, and it's solely because my favorite team is in my market, so I don't really have to worry about it. I don't really care about out of market games. MLB TV is kind of the same sort of philosophy, and I have to pay $150 or whatever it is a year to be able to watch my team. It's one team. It's not like I care about necessarily watching all the other games that are out there with all the other teams in Major League Baseball. I might, if I want to watch baseball and there's nothing else on, but I have that because of my favorite team and it's out of market.
Right.
My issue with baseball and what MLB needs to figure out, we're maybe a couple of years away, is the stupid blackout restrictions. Like,
correct.
That's the biggest thing. So like in my
the
mind,
NFL, by
I'm
the way,
more,
has the same restrictions.
I'm more up in arms about blackout restrictions, and I don't care what sport we're talking about, than anything else, pricing, whatever, because you and I are subject to blackouts for the Kansas City Royals. If you don't have cable and you don't have Bally Sports Kansas City as part of your cable package, you and I are subject to blackouts. We can't access it on MLB TV. I'm a subscriber. I pay $150 a year. I can't watch Royals games, and I don't have a cable package that has access to Bally Sports KC. So you and I had to go in together to buy Bally Sports KC to be able to watch the Royals this season. So like that's ridiculous. We're 2.5 hours away from Kansas City and we're blackout. Like we're in blackout territory. It's the same way like with football. Like those are the things that I think people need to be focused on right now when it comes to the viewing experience for these major leagues, not necessarily what the lawsuit for Sunday Ticket is about.
As an aside, the baseball blackout is a problem. In the NFL, if you were a Sunday Ticket subscriber and your team played the Chiefs, you'd get blacked out, I believe. But the thing there is you have an over-the-air way to watch that game, right? You'll watch it on CBS. You won't watch it on Sunday Ticket. So that's, in theory, that's how a blackout should work. You're still going to get the game. The problem Major League Baseball has is you can't get the dang game because it's on this network that nobody gets. Nobody can get in the most ridiculous, non-user friendly app I've ever seen in my life. Do you know how mad you talked about we have our subscription? Do you know how angry it makes me to have to enter by hand that email and that password about every third day, re-enter it to watch? Like, it is asinine.
It makes me mad. And if anybody has, if anybody has that
sued
app,
for how crappy their app is.
If anybody has that app to watch Royals games this year, did you know, and I don't know if you've experienced this yet, you have the app on, and let's say you're watching the Royals pregame show. The pregame show ends, the game starts, it kicks you back to the screen, and you have to go click live into the game. Like, just let it carry through.
We can't watch the postgame show.
Why do I have to pull out my remote and restart it because the pregame show is done and the game's going to start? It's ridiculous.
We can't watch the post game. The game cuts off before post game starts. Like, it's ridiculous. That's a separate problem. I guess the question is, do you think Major League Baseball should be sued for that?
Well, then that's the thing. Like, I read an article like just recently within the last couple of weeks about all the turmoil around the Major League Baseball rights and viewing and all of that. I mean, there have been several teams. The Royals haven't been one of them with their network yet. But there are major concerns about like bankruptcy from, I think it's Diamond Sports that owns the Bally Sports,
the ones that does all the Bally's. Yeah.
There are a couple of teams where Major League Baseball itself has taken over the production of the games for these teams because Bally Sports couldn't afford to do it anymore in different markets. Like, there's a lot of turmoil in that world. And so there's a big conversation going on right now for Major League Baseball to almost move to similar to what the NFL is doing right now, where it's an all-in revenue share, but the larger market teams, they make enough money to where they don't need to necessarily share it with everybody with their TV rights deal, where the smaller market teams are struggling.
They can suck it up. It will be the best thing that ever happens to baseball. And even revenue share on a television broadcasting method would be something that helps the entire sport on about 1,000 different fronts. It would eliminate the disparity in the way we see teams. And the NFL is very, very smart. And the thing is, you're all in. Jerry Jones had a quote recently that said something to the effect on this that, well, I think that we're probably way more valuable than the Bengals, but he was arguing in favor of the even split and saying, guys, like, we're way more valuable than the Bengals, but the league is more valuable because of this. And he's right.
The sum of all parts, is the most valuable.
I think what you'll see in baseball is annoying in a lot of ways. The best thing for the league, there's no question, would be to run everything, outside. You create your network partnerships, obviously, and every other game goes and is available through MLB.tv, and all the revenue from it gets split evenly among the teams. The problem with it is, I think, is what you've seen with these regional networks is you have to produce now all of those games.
And you're talking about 30 teams every day. And that's the issue.
But I would say this, if ESPN Plus can figure it out for some obscure sports across the country, I wouldn't be terribly concerned. I think that stuff can get figured out just fine.
Hey, I'm on in the background right now in my studio. I've got PGA Tour Live on ESPN Plus going on, where it's early in the day on a Friday, and I'm watching the golfers that are not going to win this tournament. Like, they're way far out of it, but they continue coverage all day long. It's irrelevant golfers for the most part. They produce that every week, every single week. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They do it.
And it's not fair that the Yankees, who essentially have their own network now, would have to make far less money, but it would be so much better for the sport. So much better for the sport. By
the way, just a little side note, to totally avoid this entire headache that we run into, you can always listen to the Royals games right here on KFH for free.
That's right. And the Odyssey app and all the different ways you can listen to it. It's fantastic. Listen to it. There's nothing better than listening to baseball. I'll fight that till the day I die. I love radio baseball. You can take it with you anywhere. What do? I wait on Fridays when I usually mow the yard. I wait until the game starts because I can just listen to the game while I mow the yard. I can listen to the game while I'm at the pool. I can listen to the game last night while I'm playing golf, AKA, which is what I did. Just do it through the Odyssey app or KFHradio.com. You can tell your smart speaker to turn it to KFH. There's lots of different ways you can do it. While they get it sorted out, we'll be right here waiting for you. 869-1240 will come back. Speaking of the Royals, speaking of baseball, let's look at tonight's matchup with the Guardians next.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
We have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. Sports Daily. Steve chimes in. I'm going to, Steve gives us one of those kinds of places that you can find things that maybe you shouldn't. So I'm not going to put that out there. I do want to say, though, Steve, that we appreciate you listening from Baltimore. Steve is a great listener, viewer, actually watching our YouTube stream in Baltimore and watches us that way. If you want to go to the YouTube stream, if you want to go to the YouTube stream and see a little pro tip there from Steve, I think you can do that. We won't put that out there publicly, Steve, but you can go check that out. You'll see his comments right on our YouTube stream, which you'll find. You can find it there, Facebook or X, our video stream. We're really looking forward to it, trying to ramp that thing up, share that thing out there. If you do watch, let your friends know that no matter where they are, they can watch Sports Daily. Tommy, tonight we get more Royals baseball. We get a pretty decent little pitching matchup, I think, as we'll have most of the way through this series. But, you get the game one win, 2-1, and now you get Cole Reagan's on the mound. Bybee's as good as they've got. This will be the elite pitching matchup, I think. But that's, here we go again with what could be another no mistake, critical kind of a game for Kansas City. I'm just pulling up your over under, which I'm telling you, that thing might have hit now 11 days in a row, by the way. But
it's
you're
an
looking
auto
at
bet
it right
at this
now.
point, I think
it's 9.5. Wait, no, hang on a minute. I've got Marsh, Tristan McKenzie. Who's starting tonight's game? I'm seeing two different things. Oh, I'm looking at Saturday.
Marsh is starting tonight. Then you go back to the top of the rotation on Saturday.
I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not taking the under on Marsh and McKenzie. Not going to do it.
You're not taking the under on
Saturday. No, not on those.
The line is at 10.
I've seen it at 9.5, 10. I'm not taking.
Are you expecting the Guardians to score 9 runs tonight? Because that'd be the way for the over to hit.
Well, or
right?
No, I mean if the game's 6-5, the over hits. You know what I mean?
The Royals scored 2 runs last night, and they scored. Yeah, like they're not scoring. So you're gonna actually have to need the Guardians to win the game and probably win it relatively big for that over to hit. If you like the Royals to win the game, the under is going to be the play.
Marsh has given up 3, 7, 0, 4, 5, 5 runs in his last starts. Let me pull up McKenzie here real quick. McKenzie's pretty Jekyll and Hyde. McKenzie can light you up or he can get lit up, at least historically over his career. Let me look at his recent starts. 3, 4, 2, 5, 4, 3. No, I'm not taking the under on this game. But I mean, both of these guys are capable of giving up 3, 4 runs, and then you're counting on, flawless bullpen performances again. It's not that I don't think it can happen.
Marsh's overall ERA is 4.4, but at home, he's got a 3.58 ERA. The batting average against him at home is only 236. So and he's been streaky enough. I understand all of that. I don't think, like, let's say that Marsh even gives up, let's say he gives up 5. That's kind of been where he's, I think, on average, last few starts kind of been somewhere around.
Let's say he gives up 5 and 6 innings, though.
Let's say he gives, I'm just saying, like, let's say the Guardians score 5 runs in this game. Are you convinced then that the Royals are going to score 6 and that over is going to hit? Because I'm not.
Against Tristan McKenzie? I would say it this way. I'm not saying I will bet the over. I'm saying I'm not betting the under.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I don't.
It's been an auto bet though the last 11 games.
It has been, and that's a reason to maybe dabble with it. It's not what I mean at all. I just mean, like, you're going to get the last 2 games of this series, probably the opportunity to keep taking the under. I'll do it then. I just can't do it with these 2 pitchers because they're too. I mean, they could easily. Both of them are capable of a great game too. Like, both of them are capable of basically giving you what you had yesterday at times this season. But they're very volatile at the same time. So I'm just not going to bet it. But I'm not betting the over either. No chance I'm betting the over the way the offense has been going for Kansas City. I'm just not comfortable with the starting pitchers to bet the under. But it should be. I mean, look, Marsh is going to have to pitch these games. I mean, Kansas City's got a long enough road that, Marsh's starts are as important as Reagan's starts or important as Lugo's starts. I'm glad he's going up against McKenzie because if McKenzie is not on his A game, you can get to him a little bit. I didn't look at this. I should have. What is the money line on this game? Who does Vegas like to even win the game here?
I think it's Cleveland is where the money line.
It should be
running.
It should be. I'm just curious by how much.
It's a straight up even money. It's a pick 'em.
See,
It's a pick 'em.
So, which is interesting. They're giving, if you go to the spread though, the auto spread goes to the Royals. So maybe it's saying Cleveland's a slight favor. I agree with that. By the way, I think this is pretty even. This is, again, Marsh is on the mound. If there was ever a time, offense, to get it together, this might be a game where the offense has to pick up the pitching. There haven't been those in a long time. Yeah, all right. We'll come back. We'll tell you what's on schedule this weekend when we finish up Sports Daily.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea. With more than 25 flavors, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day for half-price cups of tea. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
have more than 25 flavors. Come try them all for free.
Three Sunrise Christian athletes selected in the NBA draft, too, which is kind of cool. 2 first-rounders and then 1 on Wednesday. All right, everybody, that's it for us. Don't forget Royals baseball all weekend long with us here on KFH. Today, you will get it at 7 o'clock. You'll get regular programming, including Bob and Jeff here locally from 2 to 4 and Jim Rome right after us. Then into the Royals game at 7. Saturday, you get Royals coverage beginning at 3. Sunday, you get Royals coverage beginning at 1. Congratulations in advance to all our Damn Jam ticket winners. That announcement coming later today. We appreciate you being with us this week. Tommy will be out a little bit next week. We'll have a cast of characters joining me, but we'll get you all ready for it. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you Monday.
In Odyssey's sports station, this is 97.5 and 1240 KFH, KNSS HD2 Clearwater, Wichita's most listened to sports radio.
Have a great weekend, guys. I will